Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. The head of NATO's military committee, Admiral Rob Bauer, said on Tuesday that the arms industry needs to ramp up production as the bottom of the barrel is now visible. Speaking on the first day of the Warsaw Security Forum in the Polish capital, Bauer said on a political level the budgets had already gone up 7 years before the war, but industry had not increased production capacity.
And basically we need the continued support from the political level, because it's not only the money, it is also the actions in the nations that lead to more readier forces and the capabilities we need. And if you actually see that in the 7 years before the war, the budgets went up already, but the industry did not increase the production capacity. And that has led to higher prices already before the war. And that actually has exacerbated by the fact that we now give away weapon systems to Ukraine, which is great, and ammunition, but not from full warehouses. We started to give away from half full or lower warehouses in Europe. And therefore the bottom of the barrel is now visible. And we need the industry to ramp up production in a much higher tempo. And we need large volumes. And the just-in-time, just-enough economy that we built together in 30 years in our liberal economies is fine for a lot of things, but not for the armed forces when there's a war ongoing, where you have peak demand signals like we saw in the pandemic with medical equipment.
Earlier in September, Bauer warned that a drastic rise in ammunition prices meant that Allies' higher defence spending did not automatically translate into greater security, and called for more private investment in defence companies. NATO has been pressing for a boost in defence production to satisfy the demand for weapons and equipment that has soared since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, as Allies not only rush supplies to Kiev, but also build up their own inventories. On the 3rd of October, Armenia's parliament ratified the founding statute of the International Criminal Court, subjecting itself to the jurisdiction of the court in The Hague, a move certain to irritate its ally Russia. A spokeswoman for Parliament said 60 deputies had voted to ratify the Rome Statute of the ICC and to adopt a statement on retroactive recognition of ICC jurisdiction, and 22 had voted against. Russian-Armenian ties have been badly strained by Moscow's special military operation in neighbouring Ukraine, and Moscow's inaction as Armenia's neighbour, Azerbaijan, recaptured Nagorno-Karabakh, a region controlled for 3 decades by ethnic Armenians, most of whom have now fled. Joining the ICC means Armenia will be obliged to arrest Russian President Vladimir Putin if he sets foot there, because the court has issued an arrest warrant for him on suspicion of illegally deporting hundreds or thousands of children from Ukraine, a claim dismissed by the Kremlin as meaningless. Armenians in Central Yerevan were asked about their reaction to their country's parliament ratifying the founding statute of the ICC and whether they believed it was the right step for their country to take. Let's take a look at what they had to say. I'm sure that it must be this way, that they ratified the statute. I think that all the people who live on this planet must be made accountable for their actions. This is why I think it is the right thing to do. No, it will be very bad. We hope that it will not be like that, but in the long run, I think it will be bad. We need good relations with Russia, better than with other countries, with Europe, etc. Those countries are not very significant. They're just trying to push us away from Russia, which is very bad for us. We are a small country, and we need a strong country at our side, especially Russia.
Well, I would be very happy if they did that, but I'm not sure they will do it. But really, I would be happy to hear that we are so strong that we can do that, because we have to be strong to make that step, and it will bring only good for this planet.
Anyway, I think Russia will be angry with Armenia anyway. We will accept it or not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. Any country, it's very important for Armenian state that we accepted Roman statute. I don't know what will happen, but it's not it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for Putin to come or not, or anybody to come, or it shows that Armenia independent state.
Just call my mother.
I am positive about it. I am positive about it because it is high time to stop saying that the Russians must save us. If we dare to take a risk, we can say that nobody must save us any longer. We know that this is the right thing from the human perspective. Armenia says it has been discussing its plans with Russia after Moscow warned it in March of serious consequences if it's submitted to ICC jurisdiction. Yerevan has said the move was always intended to address what it says are war crimes committed by Azerbaijan in a long-running conflict with Armenia and is not aimed at Russia. The need for the speedy adoption of an asylum and migration package was the title of today's debate in the European Parliament, which was put on the agenda at the request of the European People's Party, which includes the Civic Platform and Polish People's Party, as well as the Social Democrats, who have the Democratic Left Alliance and the New Left in their ranks. Also in favour of the debate were the Liberals, in which group there are MEPs from Poland 2050. Representatives of the Polish opposition in the European Parliament today voted in favour of the Migration Pact.
Only last week, the European People's Party called for speeding up work on the so-called Migration Pact. Today at the European Parliament, the EPP chief urged that the pact be proceeded immediately so that the legislative process can be closed before the upcoming elections. We need solidarity mechanisms, clearly defined rules by which we will distribute migrants. We need to end the hypocrisy in the EU. We need the truth. This is the most important reform of this term, and we need to close it. If we fail, we will open the floodgates for populists and radicals. I heard similar proposals as Prime Minister of the Polish government in 2016. After the crisis caused by Germany's invitation of illegal migrants to Europe, we had to look for solutions that would defend Europeans. Human smugglers, human trafficking, non-governmental organizations from Germany that fund this practice. I want to make it very clear, Poland will never agree to accept illegal migrants. In practice, the lack of unanimity in Brussels means a massive influx of migrants into Europe. In the first half of this year alone, more than 130,000 illegal border crossings into the European Union were detected. This is the most since 2016. There is data from Germany on migrants. This data, even in the most optimistic version, says that 60% of them do not work, and in a less pessimistic version, 65% have not taken up work at all. The concept of Germany's open-door policy in 2015 was supported by the president of the European Council, Donald Tusk, who declared his willingness to accept thousands of migrants into Europe. The Civic Platform continues to advocate support for solidarity mechanisms. We remember that famous statement that Poland will have to pay because these are the rules in Europe. That's what Donald Tusk said. He tried to threaten and scare the Poles. The negative effects of illegal migration to the European Union are particularly felt by the residents of Lampedusa. The island, with a population of 9,000, receives thousands of migrants every week. Meanwhile, some factions are pushing for an expansion of the migration package. Such demands are opposed by right-wing parties. In their view, liberals are ignoring the effects of mass migration to Europe. According to recent crime statistics in Madrid, more than 40% of the capital region's prisoners are foreigners. In 2021, 1 in 2 perpetrators of sexual aggression in Spain is a foreigner, and 1 in 5 is from Africa. In Germany, immigrants from Afghanistan and Pakistan are involved in murders 8 times more often than native Germans. In Germany, 20 times. In Italy, 17 times. In Spain, 14 times. It is more common for an Algerian to be suspected of a crime than a native of those countries. Ambassadors of EU member states have adopted the final piece of the Migration and Asylum Pact in Brussels. This step paves the way for the start of negotiations with the European Parliament on the final form of the new legislation. The mandatory solidarity laid out in the negotiated resolution raises concerns among experts. It's not solidarity, it's coercion, economic coercion, I might add, because if a country refuses to accept the quotas allocated to it, then it has to pay dearly. So it's either accept migrants or pay. If forced relocation were to be adopted by the European Parliament, then migrants would be distributed around the countries of the European Union. This would mean separating their families, which could be difficult to do in practice. In Western Europe, migrants form ethnic enclaves to which the police have no access. Against this background, the situation has worsened in Sweden. Gangs of migrants clash in battles for dominance in the drug market. In the fight against armed criminals, the police are supported by the military. At the next meeting of the European Council, Poland will, as it did in 2018, announce a veto of the proposed reform of migration policy.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business, and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.